So which glasses are you wearing right now?
These are the ones with the empty lens. I mean, I wore these. I put these on just because they were close, but I was wearing the full prescription ones for the past couple of days. So
Okay, and how are those going?
uh, I think um, these are what my eyes need.
Okay.
I feel like it is the right prescription, and they really. I felt even better wearing these.
Okay.
Yeah, I just have to I realized I really have to keep in mind and train myself to keep my focus through my glasses and not really stare on the sides too much to really keep me in focus, so to say.
Are you talking about while you play the violin?
Yes, exactly.
I'm already recording, so this is actually a good way to start, like what we're talking about. So because ultimately what we realized was you needed glasses.
Yes.
Because you are you at this point a professional violinist?
Yes, definitely. I have a master's degree, so that's professional as it gets.
Okay, and just so people know, you are located where?
I'm
I'll
from Croatia.
give your full name. Well, if you want to give your name and who you
Okay.
where
So
you play music, whatever background information, because if other musicians hear this, it's important for them to realize, hey, there's other people out there like me that have this terrible neck pain. I can't figure out what's going on.
Right. Well, my name is Violinist. I'm from Croatia. Originally, I'm from a city of Osijek, but I'm living in the capital right now, Zagreb, and have been living for the past 6, almost 7 years since I started my studies. I'm playing violin, and yeah, basically that's kind of what I graduated last year in June, and
And who do you play for? Like, are you in an orchestra? Are you in a
well, I was during my studies, I played regularly at the National Theater in the opera orchestra, almost full time. But since COVID hit, it kind of basically closed. And so right now I'm working in a elementary music school as a substitute. So yeah, basically orchestra musician and right now teaching.
Okay, and what did so you originally were diagnosed with thoracic outlet syndrome, correct?
Yes.
And I had written down in my notes that what you were instructed to do was strengthen your upper traps.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a big thing. Actually, I think I remember making a video about like what's the one exercise I would never have anyone do, and it's shrugs because and the reasoning is because so many people are in this pattern of extension, and those upper traps are already so overactive that working your upper traps even more is usually not going to help you in any way. So so I mean, I assume that as a professional musician, you practice a lot. So I don't know if people realize how much professional musicians actually practice. And can you just show the position that you play
Yeah.
in?
Well, basically, your violin goes on your collarbone, on the left side, and it's supported, you know, a little bit here and with your left arm, and you just kind of you know, tilt your head basically, and the right arm is the bowing arm. So basically, that's kind of, you know, the position. Not the most natural one. So yeah, practicing is of course essential part of being a musician. Professional musicians, if you work in an orchestra, you have 3 or 4 hour rehearsals every day, and then you have to, of course, practice at home, prepare for you know, the orchestral rehearsals. Of course, I was doing theater, and plus all of my practicing on the academy, so it could be, I don't know, up to maybe 9, 10, 11 hours of playing, of course, with some breaks. But when you add it all up, it's it quickly gets to absurd number actually.
Yeah.
So it's not recommended, but I'm sure most people in universities are somewhere close to like 6+ hours, because you have, you know, you have to practice your own solo repertoire, and then you have orchestra, maybe chamber music, and then all kinds of ensembles. So it really adds up.
Okay. And so what you also realize is that one of the issues is, because you're playing with your right arm, your right hand, that we know that if you're in the pattern, which, you know, most people will be, their weight is going to be shifted to the right legs. This is my right side. And so you're constantly over on that right side, and you're constantly you're using your right arm so much. Now, in the typical right BC pattern, this right shoulder blade, the right shoulder blade becomes almost detached from the rib cage itself. And
Exactly.
It's like your brain is treating your right arm and your right shoulder and right scapula as part of your neck. And so what happens is you tend to overuse your upper traps. You're going to overuse your scalenes, your right SCM. You're going to be overusing your right neck to support this whole right side, because you're stuck over on that right side. And one of the first things we had to get you doing was get into the left side, the left hip, the left leg, and learn how to use the right arm in that position. And I do recall that I think we were good with ground-based techniques. You know, that archer exercise. Anytime you were standing, you could not use your neck to relax. Wasn't that
exactly
one of our main issues?
Yes. The ground exercises were pretty comfortable. I really enjoyed those. And then, yes, I remember first one was the archer. And as soon as I put my arms in this position, I just felt my neck going, you know, lighting up. So yeah, I knew immediately, okay, this is where we are right now.
Yeah. And then did we get it so that you could actually sit and play without much discomfort? Did we get that? But we still couldn't get to stand upright and do it?
Yes. So at first, I was able to kind of feel much better sitting down and playing. Standing up and playing was impossible. Because I just, through these techniques, I learned to, you know, control the position of my body, so I could influence it. I still felt some discomfort, but my right arm control was starting to get much more manageable.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, and then at one point, because in my notes, we started to discuss your eyes, and I don't remember. Had you already had were you already wearing glasses or no?
No. So I was. I think I'm not sure when we started talking about it, but at one point, because before we even started working together, I was doing the basic techniques on your website for probably 3 or maybe even 4 months, just every day, because I just felt this was something different and something that really made my body feel better.
Mm.
And it was around the time I was preparing my final master's degree recital, which was a success, thankfully, because of these basic exercises. So that was really important to have discovered, and to be able to play somehow and get my diploma. I don't know, I think one day I just started to experiment, because it kept feeling like I had, for instance, 2 days in a row where I would feel okay, and then on the third day it was just back to where I was. I couldn't get more than 3 days continually to feel and practice without any discomfort.
Yeah.
So I started experimenting. Maybe I didn't feel the floor, or with basically sensation. And one day I just decided to block my right eye.
Yeah, was that because of something I said on my video?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And something happened. I noticed that I just pulled the bow, and what usually happened for me was that as I was pulling the bow, my arm would drop, so the elbow would go down, and I would feel my lat kind of turn on and trying to internally rotate to keep the sound, from the bow.
Yeah.
And then when I blocked my eye, my arm just went, naturally straight in the air, and I could feel the internal rotation happening.
And that's
so
just for people who
yeah,
may not know, that's inside of postural restoration. That's a huge deal, because when we get patterned for too long, the right lat becomes the internal rotator of the right shoulder,
exactly.
which is dysfunctional, and you lose the subscapularis muscle. And I remember, I even had in my notes, you said you were delighted with the right subscap exercise that eventually we got around.
Definitely.
But there was another
Yes.
interesting thing that you had said. It's in my notes. One of the techniques that I had you doing, this foot towards ceiling, you could only do it with your right eye closed. Otherwise, you would feel your right hip flexors.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. That was really the first technique where I couldn't even approach the position, in the photo and described. I would, lie on my side, and then my right knee, I just couldn't, get it from the floor. It was just immediately my hip flexor would cramp up, and I didn't know what to do. So I just figured, you know, I would close my right eye,
Yeah.
and it worked.
Yeah. And it's
So
interesting that that technique is also one that if I don't have the right prescription, I'll just feel it in my right calf. My right,
mm-hmm.
oh boy, my right calf starts when I have the wrong prescription. My right calf gets really overactive, and
Yeah.
it's simply just uh, pulling you to the right side. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, and when people complain, they look at their right foot and it's turned out too much. Well, the right calf is involved in all of that, and it's
Yes.
overly grounding you on the right side. So you just happen to feel it in your hip flexor. For me, the interference from my right eye was I
Mm-hmm.
feel it in my calf.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, I must have brought up my experiences with my right eye, and
Yes, yes.
that if you're experiencing things differently when you close the eye, then there's a good chance that perhaps we're overusing the right eye for some
Mm-hmm.
reason. And it's not an uncommon issue, and it's well known within PRI, especially for people who are um, musicians, people who
Yes.
I mean, it's listed in the PRI manual for the vision integration.
Mm-hmm.
Musicians, overhead athletes, people who throw a lot with the right arm, they become notoriously, that right neck area becomes
Mm-hmm.
overly active and your vision will change. Like, even though
Mm-hmm.
clarity might, like nothing substantial with clarity
Mm-hmm.
necessarily, but the
Yeah.
right eye your brain starts to use it too much. And
Mm-hmm.
I have no other explanation for it besides that. Like, I can't say what's going on inside someone's brain, but your brain starts to overuse the right eye, just like it starts to overuse the right side of your body. And
Mm-hmm.
then it prevents you from getting to the left side because it's like the right eye and the left eye aren't working as a team.
Mm-hmm.
And so at any rate, we said, all right, we think you should probably see a an optometrist, and you did.
Yes. Well, I was concerned about my vision at that point, so I started to, you know, just read some stuff about vision online, and I came across astigmatism,
Mhm.
and there were a few like tests to see if you have it. So I was kind of like, okay, I think there's something going on with this one. So I booked an appointment, and turns out it really is astigmatism. And my left eye needed a bigger prescription, so it was my left eye is -50,
Mhm.
and my right is -25.
Which is not a
So
huge difference.
it's not a huge difference, but
It's not even a really huge astigmatism.
it really isn't. And I mean, I obviously I could see the difference, especially when, you know, I have to read or
Mhm.
look at music scores, but it really made a difference.
Mm.
I was, yeah, at that point I got my glasses, and the optometrist said you don't have to wear them all day, just when you need them.
Mhm.
So I did that, and then we had a next session, and we discussed about how I was basically unsure whether or not it was vision, because it was kind of on and off with how I'm feeling. And um, so yes, I remember you recommended to just wear them all day,
Yeah.
basically.
Eventually, we tried.
Um, yeah. So basically, when I started to wear them all day, there was no my right sided neck pain was completely gone and hasn't been returning ever since. And I remember I immediately felt when I walked outside, I felt like even my right, but especially my left leg was kind of hitting the ground sooner than I was expecting. So basically the ground went up. So yeah.
So that's interesting. Like, I don't have an explanation as to why, again, with your prescription is not that strong. It's not, but yet for some reason, it gives something that your brain wants to allow you to play that violin without without using your neck.
Well, I was thinking about it for the last couple of days. I think it really has to do with I think learning to play an instrument, and especially violin, is very visual from, you know, when you start out. So you really have to you know, look at your left hand, what are your fingers doing. Then you have to practice in front of a mirror, and you have to make sure your bow is, you know, going smoothly. And so maybe it was just part of my brain overly using my eyes to play an instrument instead of kind of bodily awareness feeling, so to speak. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it could be, and it's a pattern. Obviously, you're probably using your eyes in a certain way for so many hours of the day that, you know, it just becomes an ingrained pattern of how you're using your eyes with the right side of your body.
Yes.
And perhaps it was making you lose that left peripheral awareness. You just needed to get that, you know, more clear. I can't say that I know a lot about astigmatisms, because I don't. I mean, I know what they are, and I know they're correctable, but, you know, I don't know in terms of how they are dealt with in postural restoration. I don't really know, because I don't work with an optometrist, and I just don't have enough experience. But, you know, it's just, to me, it's just very interesting that, you know, the optometrist would look at, you know, what your prescription was and said you probably don't need to wear them all the time.
Yes.
And maybe for most people who are not professional musicians, because we always have to remember who's the individual that we're dealing with. Not everyone uses their vision the same way.
Yes.
So,
yes.
you know, so your optometrist wasn't necessarily wrong. It just he may not have taken into consideration the idea of a pattern of how your vision with violin playing for so many years can affect, you know, all this sensory integration. So again, he's not wrong. For most people, they probably don't need that corrected so low, but for some reason, because of the circumstances of your life, you needed it. And
yes,
that's just the weird thing. It's like one of those things that there's no one answer for every single person. And from my, you know, people always want to say, well, if I do this, will it work? And so many times my answer has to be maybe. And because we don't know what might work for one person may not work for another person, because our lives are different and our challenges are different. So,
well, I think it's really, I mean, I think really, you know, it was a matter of experimentation, because I found, you know, the PRI techniques to be really something that made sense to me, especially because of your YouTube videos. I think I watched probably, you know, if not all of them. It was just something that I saw when I really started to look into, you know, what I was doing with my arms, with my body, and the way you were describing how the pattern looks, I just started, seeing it, and finding really what works, whether you need, glasses or footwear or whatever. It really is a matter of experimentation and just searching on your own, because I mean there were definitely days where I was like thinking that, oh my god, this is not going anywhere, but then the next day it would be like, oh my god, this is the most amazing thing. I feel
Yeah.
so great.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not taking it for granted even now. I realized it's just something you have to work on and be mindful of. But yeah, it's definitely a kind of detective work.
It is, especially online.
Mm-hmm.
We're very
Yes,
fond of each other. So,
yes, definitely.
when it's online and I'm not there to test you,
Mm-hmm.
I have to go by what you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I have to trust that you're reporting what you're feeling accurately.
Mm-hmm.
Because I
Mm-hmm.
know if someone is feeling things properly, then good things are happening. If
Yes.
someone cannot stop feeling their neck, and that's always my main concern, if someone feels
Mm-hmm.
their flexors too much also, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
that means they're not turning off the overactive pattern. But if someone cannot stop feeling their neck, that's a problem, because
Yes.
there's a good chance that it's going to be something that I can't handle, simply because
Mm-hmm.
to me, the neck indicates something up here.
Mm-hmm.
And so if someone's like, yeah, I do this technique in my neck. All right, so if we work on pelvic stabilization and getting air into the rib cage properly, and the neck still, and making sure they're in the right shoes,
Mm-hmm.
and their neck still doesn't turn off, and it's still being overused, then you got to be like, oh boy, it might
Mm-hmm.
be, they might have a situation like you, who under normal
Yeah.
circumstances might not need glasses, but because you're a professional musician, for you it's needed, even though you
Yes.
see okay, like
Yeah.
you have no real visual issue. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
just that astigmatism, and the way that you use your eyes with the violin
Mm-hmm.
means,
Mm-hmm.
for some reason, and I don't know what it is, I'm pleading, I don't know why, but it gives you the outcome that we're looking for, which is a neck that's staying relaxed.